Hi, I'm Jason with Marine Foods Express, and today we have lovely Lisa Khan with our nonprofit organization, MFE Food is Love. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing okay. We're talking about crawfish today. Do you like crawfish in general?
I do. I've been craving it lately, actually.
I actually, growing up in New Orleans, I really love crawfish. People call crawfish actually baby lobster. Did you know that?
They look like baby lobster.
You like lobster, or you actually like crawfish more?
There's something about a good crawfish boil that I think is better than lobster. It's more comforting, I think.
There's so many different variations of people boiling. There's like the normal, traditional Cajun style from being a New Orleans boy, but there's so many different Asian styles. But since I moved to Texas over 20 years ago, I haven't had as much crawfish as I used to have. Everybody knows about Louisiana crawfish.
Right.
They know about the live product. During the season, everybody has crawfish boils. It doesn't matter from Texas to Louisiana or other parts of the country. It's a very big thing.
My family from California, every time they're in town, they say the crawfish here is way different than what it is in California.
I can tell you that the crawfish actually that we have here in Texas is way different than we prepare it in Louisiana.
Okay.
It depends. It depends on your preference. But I want to tackle really on the aspect of live and frozen, because if you weren't aware, crawfish actually is a seasonal item.
Okay.
It only happens for a certain amount of time throughout the year. Beyond the actual season, meaning the crawfish that you consume in your local restaurant or you can buy from the supermarkets, it doesn't matter from Texas, Louisiana, or California. Many of the products are actually frozen. What are the actual positives about purchasing or boiling live crawfish from just majority of the crawfish coming from my friends over there in Breaux Bridge and the actual Cajun country? One of the benefits people perceive is that it tastes better. It's like cooking live fish, preparing live fish over frozen fish.
That makes sense, yeah.
Right? It's always better in general perspective-wise when you're cooking a live product, immediately eating it, it's gonna taste a little more fresh. Then it's domestic, just supporting American product,
Okay.
But I also want to tackle the misnomer about the actual imports, because imports is primarily what people are eating throughout the year.
Oh, okay.
Primarily beyond the product from Louisiana, there are products coming out of China, okay?
All right.
There are products coming out of Spain.
Oh, okay.
There are products coming out of Egypt nowadays. Then in addition to the actual domestic product from Louisiana. But people, when they start saying, when I'm saying it's coming from China, or coming from Spain, or coming from Egypt, what's your mentality when you're thinking of that? Do you have like a positive or negative type of sentiment?
Well, for me, when I think crawfish, I do only think Louisiana.
Right.
Just because, I think the environment in Louisiana is really different. So I wasn't aware that, you could have crawfish elsewhere. So that's interesting to know. I wonder if it tastes the same. I think that's my biggest question. So does Egyptian crawfish and Chinese crawfish taste the same? Is it still crawfish? Because I've seen them in Australia, and in Australia, they're a bit different, bigger, but they're called langoustine. Is that even the same?
That's right. It's not. It's a different species. But the actual product that, regardless if it's coming from Spain or China or Egypt, it's the same exact species as the product we actually get from Louisiana. As far as some people think, they think negatively. They think that product from China may have like less legs, as far as that, or product from Egypt may have extra eyeball or anything, but they're the same exact species. But from Louisiana, being a Cajun boy, we call it crawfish. I think we call it crawfish as well here in Texas. But if you're from Boston, you may call it crayfish. But some people also call it mud bugs. But for those kind of science fanatics out there, I don't even know how to say this word, as far as that, but they have this kind of a fancy word for you science fanatics out there. I think it's called Procambarus clarki. Okay, I'm not even gonna.
I'm pretty sure you butchered that.
You wanna try that out? Okay, we're done with this. Okay, and whatever that scientific name is, we're gonna just talk about crawfish today. Okay, but we talked about live. As far as when you're cooking something that's live and you're eating it, consuming it, it's gonna taste better. But beyond that, it's the actual cost. And during season for domestic, in the beginning of the season, the cost can get very high. It's once again, I mentioned that I don't really eat too much crawfish nowadays. I'm actually, to be honest with you, it's just fun fact is that I'm not actually even that big of a seafood person.
It's very odd.
But are you a big seafood person?
I love seafood.
You love seafood, okay? It's but actually, by selling seafood, I've been around shrimp for 40 years in my life in Louisiana. It's I'm actually not big of a seafood person. So I'm not going to be the first one going to your local grocer and buying crawfish. But to my understanding, during the actual beginning of the season, it may get over $3 per pound.
Okay, so that's kind of pricey.
That's kind of pricey. And when volume picks up, they got more supply available in Louisiana, then price I hear, okay, gets to like probably under $1 per pound.
I've never seen it that low.
That's what I heard. That's what people tell us.
Wow.
I mean, so during the season, that's what restaurants, they like to prefer to utilize live.
So what is the season?
The season typically starts around April, May. It can probably even go into October, okay, and overseas.
Okay.
So during the season, primarily restaurants prefer to utilize domestic because it's live, okay, because of more fresh taste, and it's possibly more inexpensive. So what are the negatives? One of the negatives is that you need to purge them. Have you cooked crawfish before?
I have, but okay, my mom has.
Your mom has. Okay.
It looks tedious because there's a lot of rinsing and washing, and I don't know.
That's right. For an actual live product, you need to clean these babies because these babies are mud bugs. So there's a lot of mud and dirt.
I've been told at the grocery store that you shouldn't just submerge them in water because they die. So how do you clean them?
So my understanding is that
so you just leave them in the
leave
water.
Them in the water. So you take an actual big giant tub. Let's just say a big giant ice chest. You go ahead and put a bunch of salt in there.
Oh, okay,
You put salt in there, and you put the live. Usually comes in these kind of 30-pound bags. You just kind of unload these live into this tub. You place it in this actual salt bath.
Okay.
And then you let it regurgitate itself.
Right, they're moving around and everything's getting loosened up.
Exactly. And
I've heard people of washing them with milk. Have you heard of that?
I have not heard of that.
Yeah,
Really?
they say it makes it,
Maybe it makes it more tender, maybe?
Yeah,
maybe make
exactly.
it more moist as far as that. Let me ask Chef that. But I'm not sure he knows of that special method. But
so how many times will it take for it to be clean if it's live?
Probably at least 2 times probably would be good,
Okay.
It's to get it clean. And so you look on the underside here, you look at the actual difference that this is relatively dark. Processor should have done a better job in cleaning these babies.
So that's the dirt. That's like not the color of the crawfish.
No. Once you grab a couple of crawfish, hold 2 of them up over there. Let me give you one of these.
Okay.
Okay, don't mix them up, right? And let me hold 2 of these. Can you really tell a difference? Do you have an extra eyeball over there? Or is it an extra claw? You can see, hi, hey me, hello. They're pretty much the same. They're the same exact species, but we have 4 different countries of origin here, Lisa.
Okay, so that's the difference. It's the country of origin.
Countries of origin here. What I have here on my left, immediate left here, this is actually product from Spain. Okay. This was processed in Spain, and what we have here in the center here, this was processed from China.
Okay.
And what you have right in front of you is these big crawdaddies are processed in the U.S. from Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
About 4 or 5 hours away from here. And then what you have there on the far right is where actually you and I, we went early this year from Egypt, actually.
Oh.
But they're all are the same species. And so we talked about the actual positives, right? We talked about the positives that cooking live product is probably going to taste a little bit more fresh, okay?
Okay.
It's live. All 4 of these are actually pre-cooked. Okay?
Okay, so these are cooked.
All 4 of these are pre-cooked, but they are all pre-cooked and frozen, okay? Even the domestic industry actually have a pre-cooked frozen product to sell to the retail markets all year round.
Okay.
The actual benefit we talked about again, live, is taste and cost potentially if the volume picks up throughout the season. Let's talk about the negatives. You just said that you were just very concerned about how much time it takes to actually clean them, to purge them. Have you seen the big sack of crawfish before?
I have. They're heavy, and I feel like even to get like the best price, you have to buy in bulk. So no choice. Like if I'm gonna buy, I have to buy like 30 pounds.
You're not going to your local grocery store and taking an actual tong and is picking and choosing what you want?
No, because that's like $1 or $2 more expensive a pound.
Is it? Really?
It is.
Okay. So, but when you buy the actual sack, it's actually what's called essentially field run or ocean run. Essentially, they're just random. You really don't know what you're going to get in there. You may get some big ones, you may get some small ones, and so you don't have any uniformity there.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little more about uniformity in a second, but you don't have the uniformity. Some people, they just like live. They love crawfish. It doesn't matter. So uniformity means is consistency, okay, as far as compared to the actual imports, okay, or compared to even the actual domestic. When we pre-cook these, There are three main sizes, Lisa, that we sell them. One main size actually was called U10. Okay, it's not that popular for the most part because it's coming from Egypt. Okay, because they're huge, big crawfish. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But more so is actually 10-15, just like shrimp. I mean, have you gone to a grocery store and as far as that you'll see shrimp, it says 16-20, but they may not show 16-20. They may actually say jumbo. Okay.
Okay.
They say,
yeah, I've definitely seen those. Yeah.
You know, that's how they reference them. But there's actually an actual size that we say 10-15 count. That means that there are about 10 to 15 pieces of crawfish per pound. And so these are already graded in size. So every single package that you buy that's already pre-cooked and frozen have an actual specification that is within 10 to 15 pieces per pound. So you have more uniformity. You know exactly what you're going to get. Okay,
right.
If you're restaurant-wise, you know exactly that how to cost your servings and do your costing structure there. It's just easier.
And it helps with cooking because if everything's the same size, you don't have to worry about cooking one more or less than the other.
Exactly. You may have some tiny ones. I mean, that is going to just be overcooked. Besides the uniformity, as far as we talked about cost fluctuations for domestic, so those are some of the positives about the live.
And you can only get them during the season.
We can only get it during the season. And that's the benefit of why do we use imports? Why do we use pre-cooked, okay? Because I continue to utilize the word imports because for many years, pre-cooked whole boiled crawfish were imports. Because once again, is that supply and demand. Primarily, the actual pre-cooked product was coming from China. Even though this is like our gold here in the States here, the Chinese thought this was junk. They didn't want to eat this.
So crawfish isn't popular in China at one point?
At one point. At one point, it wasn't popular. But nowadays, I mean, there's so many crawfish eateries in China. Next time if we go to China together, you're going to see, I mean, so many crawfish houses.
Have that on camera. He's taking me to China.
Okay. It's so many crawfish eateries, people gathering in public spaces. They're bonding with their friends and drinking wine and maybe not wine, okay? Maybe beer, okay? Maybe the Qingdao beer from China. They're just consuming so much product domestically in China.
So in China, would you get that but fresh, like not
pre-cooked?
They would.
I mean, there's two different markets there. When you're in China, you'll see so many rice fields that they are farming crawfish, primarily not for export, but the Chinese are consuming this product directly in China. They have no incentive to export it because typically is that the Chinese are willing to pay more money, okay, to get the product locally.
Right.
So therefore, then who came out of the woodwork is that we had Spain. Spain decided want to get into the business. You know, I want to fill in some of those holes, okay, that the Chinese markets are not exporting. And then you have Egypt came into the mix. One of the positives about the Egyptian product is that because due to the climate, it's actually larger. As I mentioned earlier, the size U10 primarily comes from Egypt. So some restaurants, they want those big, gargantuan size crawfish, okay? Primarily is going to be from Egypt. Finally, domestic markets, okay? They know, they want a piece of that pie. They know that it's widely consumed throughout the year and it's seasonal. So let's go ahead and get a piece of the pie and we're going to go ahead and cook it ourselves. And we're going to go ahead and boil it and we're going to go ahead and sell this all year round as well.
Right.
So now you have 4 primary countries of origin from Spain, from China, from the US markets to Egypt are all selling the same species. Well, what's the quality variances? Is actual domestic better than Spain? Is Spain better than China? Is China better than Egypt? But the answer actually is no right or wrong answer. It's not just that simple to say that US is better, that China is better. And reality-wise, it's based upon the processor. It's from the packer. Because everybody has different production methods. Some people, they're just more experienced, you know? Chinese packers, the best packers, have been doing this for at least 15 years or 20 years. And so they are very kind of fluent in cleaning the product. And so once again is that these facilities in China, I speak for China alone, is that they have thousands of people in the factory. And when they're actually purging and cleaning these babies, they're not taking that ice chest that you and I talked about.
Right.
I mean, they have these huge swimming pools, and they're truly just having this whole system, pump system, trying to clean these babies, compared to Egypt. You know, is that the operation, they're still a little bit more new. I mean, a little bit more small, not as advanced as the Chinese processors. But even though Chinese processors, that there are some people that are better quality than others, you know? And so it's just ranging from processor to processor. So you cannot just say immediately that Chinese immediately is better than everybody else, because that's not the case. It really is about your brands that you can trust, okay, and the processors that you can trust. Typically here at MFE, we've been really doing this for many years, and we worked with the best processors from overseas.
So it makes sense then, I guess, you know, A, experience, B, your technology and the process you use. I guess it makes sense if you have more experience, you have better technology, maybe yours comes out better.
And also depends on what time of the actual season do you actually go ahead and, let's just say fish, okay? It's easier where just go ahead and pull the actual, we call these crawfish or raw material from the actual water. You pull it early in the season. I mean, there's a tendency that these crawdaddies, they're still small. They don't have as much meat feel, you know, as far as maybe the shell, if you press on it, maybe a little bit more soft. So I turn this upside down here, is that you see how clean this is. This is actually from China. You know, to how the process and technology that they have and overseas from China, because they are one of the most experienced. I'm not trying to promote one or the other, but it once again is about the processor. We do a comparison on the bottom here, that this is a Chinese process, this is processed in the US, this is processed from Egypt, and we'll pull one of these that is processed from Spain. Really about the processor, and so it's very critical to find somebody that you can trust. So when you say the meat feel wise, when you go ahead and peel this, okay? Let's go ahead and peel one of these. Let's look at how fresh this looks. You know, even this is pre-cooked and frozen. You still see that kind of row there, you know, that orange stuff. It's just so fresh looking on this product there. Let's go ahead and peel this away real quick. Let's go peel a couple of them. Let's do some comparisons here. Let's see here.
Oh, I feel like I'm peeling differently than you, but okay.
If I'm peeling a live product, if I want to be fancy, I'm going to twist the tail and pull out the actual vein. Let's just go ahead and do what I can. So once again, you look at that, a different color in the actual row. So let's go ahead and put this. This is actually from China here. Let me peel one from Spain. Same thing. So you see the Spanish, the row is a little bit dark. You like to see that nice orange color, is my perspective. Maybe some professional crawfish person down in Louisiana, they have their own opinion. But this is a Spanish product. It looks a little dry on the actual head. Doesn't seem as moist as the Chinese earlier.
I'm sorry, Egypt. I might have butchered your crawfish.
So Lisa has the Egyptian here. Okay, let's peel a domestic. Let's peel one from down in the bayou, over down in Louisiana.
I guess.
Man.
There.
New Orleans. When you're talking about New Orleans, I missed the food. When I lived in New Orleans, I really didn't appreciate the food down there.
It's different. I feel like we can't replicate it here, despite how close we are.
I love the food in New Orleans. This is a Spanish product here. Let's put them side by side here. I'm not sure, maybe you butchered this, Lisa.
My bad.
On the actual crawfish here. And then let's see.
I did a better job.
This is domestic. So we're talking about the meat feel. I mean, the domestic seems very big. I mean, if I were to actually do a quality check on this actual 1622 crawfish looks a little large. But these are the 4 different variations. You see a little bit difference in color, the actual difference in size. But in reality-wise, it's the same exact species. Is that, I mean, so you see the actual, here, let's look at the row. I mean, this one looks a little bit dry. Also, we talked about if it's early in the season, it may be kind of soft shell. It may not have enough meat feel. But this meat feel actually is not too bad, okay?
For the size of
for the
what
size.
that is.
For the size,
right.
You know? Is that, but later on in the season, and when it really gets to the end of the season, the shell may be more firm, okay? More hard. Sometimes have you peeled the crawfish before, and it's like, man, these suckers are pretty tough, pretty hard. I mean, you throw it against a wall, maybe kind of hurt somebody. At the same time is that the body, the meat in the body may be a little bit more larger, you know, is that they've grown, you know, they got a little bigger. And so those are the different things that we look at when we're comparing the actual different time of the year that we purchase. Is very critical. We don't want to buy early in the season because the meat feel may not be there. It's soft shell.
They haven't grown.
They haven't grown yet. And we don't want to buy too late in the season, but maybe more, the texture may be a little more firm. It's very critical. We're trying to buy at the optimum time, okay, from overseas. But as you can see, that they are all the same exact species. Overseas product doesn't have an extra eyeball or they lose a leg, but it really is very critical, as I mentioned, is about the processor, the partner that you work with is very critical. So it doesn't matter what country of origin that you're buying it from. As far as the cost-wise is consistent, Lisa. We talked about that from actual domestic-wise, you may have a $3 cost.
Okay.
And you may have maybe under $1 cost. It depends on which country you're buying it from.
Okay.
Different countries have different labor costs. For a 1622, let's just throw a number out there. It's typically about $2 and $2.50 per pound. If you're a restaurant owner, you have consistent availability, controlling your costs all year round.
Are these cooked with spices?
They are not. They are for many years that people like to buy pre-cooked, Cajun seasoned crawfish. But nowadays it's more widespread that more and more people prefer to actually just buy it pre-cooked and unseasoned. They want to work their own magic. They want to put their the Via Cajun style and the garlic butter and all the different seasoning. And my brother-in-law, I heard, has a great recipe over there in New Orleans. He won a lot of awards on that. In the past-wise, when you say seasoned crawfish, Cajun seasoning, they're not really doing anything special. Essentially what they're doing, Lisa, is that they're using just salt and red pepper, okay?
Oh, okay. So that's all that is in there.
That's all it is. And then they're not even cooking it. But speak for China-wise, is that they're not even cooking it in the seasoning. And so they're actually cooking everything unseasoned. And at the end, right before when they're packaging it, they're just gonna take a scoop of salt and red pepper and just boop, just push it into the actual package and then put it into the freezer. It's just sitting on top of the actual crawfish. It's not even cooked in the crawfish.
Okay, so the flavor's not really penetrating.
Crawfish is not really penetrating. So that's why many people prefer to just utilize unseasoned, and so they can work their magic. And so as we have one of these here, one of our popular brands is a Louisiana fish fry product, is that crawfish, shrimp, and crab boil.
So you're telling me that if I were to buy this type of crawfish and I wanted to cook it at home, I would take it home, thaw it out, I would toss it in whatever, and I would throw all the seasoning and then cook it together then again?
To a certain extent, you can just take a bag. Okay, they usually come in 5-pound bags. You can find your local retailer if you're just buying it to cook at home. You can just put it in a microwave, heat it up,
okay,
and you pull it out and you're good to go. You got crawfish for dinner.
Oh,
it's
very easy
but
then.
if you want to be more fancy, you kick it up a notch if you were Emerald. Just boil some water and just add your own ingredients and you just go from there. As far as when I was growing up, you put corn in there, you put sausage in there, andouille sausage in there, you'll put potatoes in there.
Right.
Just that's a traditional Cajun crawfish boil. I mean, it has evolved so much throughout this country. I mean, with the different Via Cajun recipes out there that are really delicious. So we talked about the benefits of actual utilizing a pre-boil. It's not just imported. Okay, let's not identify anymore. Let's kind of toss that word out. Okay, import, because domestic also has a pre-cooked product. So the benefits of a pre-cooked is that you have consistent availability all year round when it's not in season. Okay,
right.
Typically also is about the uniformity. Okay, we said that you may have the big giant sack when you and your mom bought. Okay, as far as that, you don't know what you're gonna get in there.
Right.
But yes, when the season, the volume picks up, our wonderful neighbors in Louisiana, okay, you pay a little more money, they will actually have it already pre-cleaned for you. They have a pre-purge for you already.
Oh.
Yes, they have a pre-purge for you, and they have select size. They may handpick the bigger sizes for you. That's the opportunity there. So we won't just say it's all kind of a field run, ocean run, but those are availability if you pay a little extra money, during the season. So you don't need to worry about purging. You don't need to worry about those issues. I mean, if it's seasoned in Louisiana, buy domestic. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's no need truly to buy from overseas or a pre-cooked product. Just cook it from a live product. But when the season's over, the benefit is that we have the uniformity. If you have a 1622, you know exactly what you're gonna get. Consistency in actual pricing. Okay, I mean, just very easy to use. I mean, you can, once again, just microwave it, just throw some seasoning and put it in boiling water, and you'll have dinner in like 20 minutes. You have a beer, I mean, your local favorite beer. My favorite is Stella. I mean, are you a beer drinker?
No.
You're not a beer drinker?
No, I just like my crawfish the way it is.
You look like an actual bubble tea person.
I am.
You are. I mean,
crawfish and bubble tea is probably one of my faves.
Crawfish and bubble tea, man, that sounds kind of Sounds kind of disgusting though, okay? But we'll try that out next time, Dave. Maybe you take one of these packages home and run with that. So we just want to spend some time today to talk about the misunderstanding about live crawfish, misunderstanding of crawfish from overseas. And so there are benefits and negatives to every single product. Live, there's positives and negatives. The actual pre-cooked has positives and negatives. Not one is better than the other. It's about the processor that you select, okay? Who you partner with from overseas. That's going to determine your quality. And once again, it really ranges from year to year because it is wild caught, you know? Sometimes, I mean, the weather's not good in Louisiana, and they're going to have less availability, you know?
Okay.
And so same thing from overseas. I mean, they're very reliant on weather. That's the actual aspect. I just want to just share a little bit about crawfish. We'd love to hear what you think. We have all these products available. We have from China, we have from Spain, we have from Egypt, and we have from our neighbors down the road in Louisiana. So please come on down, purchase some product, give us your own opinion. Tell us what you think, and just please comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. In the future-wise, we're gonna have more of these conversations, variety of topics, and hopefully you guys enjoy.